Guys, welcome to the next module in the course. Now, I'm sure this is the one that you've all been waiting for, the script. So this script is literally 100% tailored to e-commerce, as everything else within this course is, within this program is. And really, guys, it's so powerful, and it really just ties in everything that we've talked about, within the sales week up until this point. This script ties everything in and really encompasses all of the points that we've talked about. As I say, up until this point, all those points that we've talked about are embedded into this script. And like I say, it really just does cover everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the entire script. I'm going to explain why I'm saying everything, and there's also notes on the script as well. And so what you guys can then do is literally use this script and couple it with all of the other points as well that we've talked about up until this point. And honestly, at that point, guys, again, if the client on the other end of the call, or on the other end of the phone, on the other end of the Zoom, whatever you want to say, if that client or potential client is qualified, they can genuinely afford your service, well then this script and everything that we've talked about up until this point will close them. That's just the reality of it, right? You will close a client if they're qualified, that is, right? And I, as I'm already mentioned, and I'll say it again, the best salesperson in the world cannot close somebody who's not qualified, right? If you get a client on the other end of the call that is thinking about spending $1,000, right? That's their max. That's how much they can spend on a service, right? If that's what they've got in their mind, and you do the best sales in the world, and at the end you pitch it for $4,000, it doesn't matter how good your sales is. It doesn't matter how well you sell them, or whatever the case is, you won't close them. So as I said, again, if the client on the other end of the call is qualified, then everything we've talked about in this sales week up until this point, and a few after this as well, after this module, when you couple all of that together along with the script, you will close the client. There is no doubt in my mind. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, this is a sales script, Quantum Leap Ecomm Agency Sales Script. So let's get into it. Now, this is it, guys, okay? I'm going to be walking you through. It's quite long, but let's get into it, okay? So the Quantum Leap Ecomm Agency Sales Script. Now, just before we get into it, here's a little legend. So the actual script is everything that's in black. So all of this stuff here, etc., etc. And then notes, reasoning, additional tips, etc. is all in red, okay? So first things first, before we get into the script, as a side note, this script is a framework and is not something you have to stick to. If, for example, a potential client goes into depth on a question you have asked, make sure you ask them building questions on what they are talking about, as this will help build a really good relationship with the potential client. And this kind of ties in with the other point I was making in a previous module, where I was like, don't be overly scripted. You don't, like a lot of the times people have a script in front of them and they almost go into the meeting with the mindset of like, they don't care what the client says, right? They only care about what's next in the script, what the next line is that they need to say. Their client could say anything in the world, but they just do not care, because their only focus is what's next, what the next line is that they need to say, right? And you do not want to go into sales meetings like this, because it won't work. It just simply won't work, okay? So as I say, this is a framework and it's something that you should stick to, but you don't need to stick to everything word by word, line by line, because you want to be taking in and you want to be listening to what the client says. Again, as I touched on in the previous module, listening is just as, if not more important than physically speaking. Okay, so just remember that it's really big, and that's why I keep saying it, is because it's very important. Okay, so look, phase one. Okay, oh god, phase one. Okay, perfect. Phase one is relationship building. Okay, so this is just when you initially get on the call. You both join into the Zoom meeting. You just get onto the call. Just do some small talks, talk about similarities, talk about where they're based, and maybe just touch on some knowledge that you have in regards to that area. Touch on knowledge that is relevant to them, i.e., if it's an English-based client, and by the way, guys, this is a complete example. If it's an English-based client and they're based in London, you can maybe say, sounds like you're based in London, correct? Are you a West Ham fan or an Arsenal fan? Right, and they're just two very well-known football clubs or soccer clubs based in England, London. So Just things like that, okay? Just commonalities, some similarities that you guys have, and talk about things that are based with them. You know, ask them questions about where they live. Don't say, oh, I'm based in Australia, and actually at the moment in Australia, X, Y, and Z's happening. They don't really care about that. Talk about where they live, what's going on in their world, right? Again, this is not really that important, but it will, you know, as I explained there, it will simply get you both, you know, both you and the client comfortable and gets you guys on the same page ready for the next 45 minutes of the call. It just makes things a lot easier, okay? But that's really, you know, quite basic. Let's actually move into the physical script and actually selling and all that type of stuff. So phase 2, okay? Understanding / knowledge building. Okay, this is where you really want to dig deep, and you'll see that this is probably one of, if not the most important part of the script. Okay, so look, James, and by the way, James is just a made up name again. So look, James, as a general structure for some context for yourself, my discovery calls usually start off with me asking some questions about your business. And if I still think at that point we can genuinely make this a home run, then from there, I'll discuss what it is that we do at, you know, your agency, Bax Consulting. In this case, for me, I'll discuss what it is that we do at Bax Consulting, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to be a part of it. Sound good? Right? This is setting the tone for how the call will go and how it's structured. Things like my discovery calls usually imply that you do this a lot, even if you don't, which acts as building that experience and that essentially that expertise, even if you don't have it. You know, if it's your first call, it still somewhat sounds like you're very, very experienced. You're very, very well versed in having these sales calls, okay? Now from here you want to go, perfect. So obviously you're on this call for a reason. Now, what is that main driving reason? Now this question here, guys, will be the thing, as you'll see throughout the script, this will be the one thing that will help you sell almost every single qualified client that you have on the call. Okay, because this is the reason here. Okay, this is where the client will open up about why they're on the call with you. You need to understand that when you get a meeting with a client and you're on the Zoom call with them, they are genuinely there because they feel as though they need you. Right? If everything in their business was perfect and they were super happy with how everything was going, then they wouldn't be on the call with you. It's that simple. So you need to understand what that underlying problem is within their business. And once you figure out that by asking, you know, what's the reason they're on the call with you, often the two correlate. Okay, so the underlying problem within their business is often the reason they're on the call with you, right? As I say, because usually the two will correlate. Now, their answer to this question will, the answer to their question depicts what route and in what way you position your service throughout the rest of the sales call. And so it is super important for you to truly understand what their underlying problem is within their business, and you will soon understand why it's so important, right? I'm going to refer back to this section later on as the driving reason. Usually you will find that the driving reason are a lack of ROAS, i.e. losing money, lack of knowledge, lack of time, or being stung in the past far too many times and are super cautious about working with other agencies, okay? They're usually the most common driving reasons. They're the most common reasons people or clients are, get on a discovery call with you. But as I said there, as I somewhat touched on, the way that you position your service at the end when it comes to closing the client will be 100% depicted on what their main driving reason is behind why they're on the call with you. And so that's why it's so important, because that's why I'm super confident as well in that you'll be able to close almost every single one of your potential clients on the call if they're qualified, because the way that you position your service will be, it'll be exactly the reason and it'll be exactly the thing that they want. But yes, it is, but it's also because you've depicted it that way and you've positioned it that way. Okay, and again, if this makes if this is somewhat confusing up until this point, don't worry. I'm going to be explaining everything. I'll show you in real time what it actually looks like. Okay, so moving on. So obviously you're going to say perfect. So obviously so obviously you're on this call for a reason. What is the main driving reason? Let them explain. And then you just go, I completely understand. So to build on that, what is the current sales system you have in place that you see drives the majority of your sales? Okay, just let them explain. I see. And what's the return of that like? Okay. Now, this is where you want to build on this and truly get a good understanding in terms of where they are at in their marketing. Again, similar to the previous point I explained, what their response is will depict how you sell your service. You want to position your service as the solution to the reason why they are not happy with their current sales system, whatever that may be. If it's that it's not producing enough results, then you want to base your service you want to sell your service based on the ROAS it can generate. If it's that their current sales system is getting good results, but it takes far too much time, then you want to sell your service as you literally taking everything off their hands and taking over the marketing aspect of their business. So they never need to not only worry about marketing, but also never worry about where the next sale will come from, etc. If it's that it isn't predictable, their current sales system isn't predictable, then you want to sell your service in a way that you are essentially building, again, an automated money machine, as I said before, that not only spits out cash, but is also super predictable 24/7, 365. And again, we'll get into this. I just want to explain and show you why it's so important that you get some good tangible answers from these initial questions and not just ask them because they're in the script. You need to actually ask them and get real answers from them, as they will depict the way you go about positioning your service, throughout the rest of the call. And I just wanted to put that in there as well, guys, because again, a lot of the times when people go into sales calls or whatever and they've got a script, they're not really asking the question. I mean, like, they're only asking the question. They're not asking it because they genuinely want to ask it. The only reason they're asking the questions that are on the script that they're using is because it's on the script that they're using. Yes, these questions are on here for a reason, but you actually need to get some tangible answers from the questions. Don't be just asking the questions, asking things, Don't be just saying, I completely understand. So to build on that, what is a current sales system you have in place that you see drives majority of your sales? Don't just ask that because it's on there. Actually get some tangible answers from these questions, because they're in here for a reason. As I say, they're in here for a reason. You need to ask them to get real answers from them, as they will genuinely depict the way you go about positioning your service. If you just ask these questions just because they're on here, you don't really get any good answers, then you're not going to be able to sell your service, okay? So, phase 3, prepping. So, great, let's just go back. So you say, I see, and what's the return of that like? You get the answers, maybe you ask some building questions on it or whatever. And at this point, you want to move on to phase 3. And you want to go, great. So within the application form you filled out to book this call, I saw that you put in there you were making X per month. So again, if you followed every step up until this point in the course, in the program, you would have set up your, set up your scheduling software to have questions. And one of those questions would be, one of those questions literally is, how much are you making per month? So in there, that, however much they're making, this is where you want to use that number, okay? So let's say, for example, they are making 50,000 per month right now, okay? Let's use that for the example of this module. So they're making 50,000 per month right now. So you want to go, great. So within the application form you filled out to book this call, I saw that I saw that in there you are making 50,000 per month, correct? Yeah, perfect. So given you're currently at 50,000 per month, in 12 months time, where would you like to take that to? Okay, so you're gonna ask this again. Let's say, for example, they say 150,000. So they're currently at 50,000, and in the next 12 months, they want to take it to 150,000 per month. Okay, so from here, you just want to say, I love that. So obviously, right now, you're teetering around 50,000 per month, and within the next 12-month span, you're wanting to grow that to 150,000 per month. So obviously, there's a gap in between, and in order to bridge that gap, there's a change that needs to be made, right? Yeah, of course. So at this point, there's essentially a fork in the road, right? So you can continue what you're currently doing with, and then name their marketing system. So this is where it becomes a lot more personalized, and you don't want to be overly scripted. Name what they're currently doing. So you want to name the current marketing system. The current marketing system is the answer to this question. Okay, this is why you need some tangible answers, because you're actually using what they're saying. This is going to help you sell the service a lot easier. It's going to help build relationships, etc., etc. So you want to get answers because it's genuinely being used throughout the script. Okay, so let's say here they're doing influencer marketing, right? For example. So we want to go back to this point here in the script. Yeah, of course. So at this point, there's essentially a fork in the road. You can continue doing what you're currently doing with influencer marketing and stay at 50,000 per month, or you can make a radical change within your business's marketing and take your business to 150,000 per month and beyond. And look, in all transparency, James, at this point, I know you're genuinely a great fit for what I do. So let's dive into why I'm so confident we can get you to 150,000 per month within the next 12-month span, okay? And I mean, guys, just in that little section there, we've used so many of their answers. And again, that's why it's so essential you get some, you actually get answers to the questions you're asking. Okay, so just to explain this bit here and kind of the thought processes behind it and whatnot. So essentially through this part of the script, we have gotten two super important tangible points, point A and point B. Now, these are super important because point A is where they're at currently, and point B is where they want to go to, right? That's where they want to get to. And what you want to do is position yourself and your agency as the vehicle/bridge to get them from point A to point B. Now, this is where you want to position your service based on what their biggest problem is right now when it comes to scaling their marketing. You need to make this suit them as an individual. Again, it goes back to the driving reason as to why they are on the call with you, as it is imperative that you position your service as a solution to that driving reason, okay? This is why, again, as I was mentioning before, this is why I'm so confident that you will literally be able to call, I'd say, upwards of 95% of the qualified prospects you get on the call, because the way you position your service will actually be the solution to their company's biggest problem. Think of the biggest problem in your life right now, personally, whatever that biggest problem is, whether it's in business, whether it's in personal life. If you have a budget of $5,000, right? Let's just say $5,000, that's what your budget is per month. And the biggest problem in your life right now can be solved for $5,000 per month. You would take it, right? You'd take it because your biggest problem is going to get solved. And so that's what you need to remember when selling services. Not every business's, e-commerce businesses, biggest problem is ROAS or getting better results. Yes, majority of the time it will be that, but not every time. So you need to figure out what it is for the individual e-com brand owner you're speaking to, and then position your service as the solution to that biggest driving problem. Okay. Now, phase 4, service. So I've split this part up into basically two sections. So if it's a brand that isn't running ads, then you want to go through this part here, okay? And then if it's for a brand that is running ads, then you want to go through this part here, okay? Because it differs. The way you sell your service, again, differs between certain clients, okay? Because, basically the most logical difference between these two types of brands, one that's running ads and one that isn't, is because the ones that aren't, then you need to sell them on why Facebook ads work, and you need to sell them on why they work and why they should start leveraging them for their business. And then for brands that are already running ads, you don't really need to sell them on why Facebook ads work, because they already know they do, because they're actively spending money on them. So you don't really need to focus too much on that side of it. With this part, you need to focus more on why they should choose you and your agency to come in and scale up them, to take over their ads, right? So let's start with brands that aren't running Facebook ads. And remember, guys, for the most part, if you're following this program down to a T, then you shouldn't really have too many calls with brands that aren't running ads, because the qualification point, that 6th qualification point, is to ensure the brand is running between 1 to 15 ads. So yes, you may get the odd brand who's got great organic traffic, they're doing 50K a month or whatever it is, and they're not running ads. So in that case, you want to take them through this part here. So let's start with this. Okay, so you just finished this. I know that you're a great fit for what I do, so let's dive into why I'm so confident we can get you to 150K per month within the next 12-month span. So things like influencer marketing on Instagram, and this is where you want to, also input, if it makes fit, you want to input what they're doing. For majority of e-com brands, they'll be doing one, for the most part, they'll be doing one of 3 things: Google ads, Facebook ads, or influencer marketing. They're the 3 main ones that an e-com brand will be growing with, okay? So So things like influencer marketing on Instagram work well to grow e-commerce businesses. But the problem there is that it's very hard to track results that you generate through influencer marketing. And it's also very hard to scale. Given my experience, I have also found that you are almost spraying from the hip when it comes to influencer marketing, in that you never really know what works until you try it. And, of course, this concept goes for majority of marketing mediums out there. That said, you can't test with a small budget with an influencer, right? If somebody charges $1,500 per post, you can't test that audience with a $100 budget. It just doesn't work. So again, yes, influencer marketing does work, but a lot of money needs to be spent in order for it to work. And still at that point, you're not guaranteed results. So overall, it just doesn't make sense from a ROAS standpoint. Now, same goes really for Google Ads. I have found from personal experience that Google Ads just do not warrant anywhere near the results we can get through Facebook ads and its networks due to a variety of reasons, right? So, for e-commerce at this point, really you're only left with one option, and that's Facebook ads, as I mentioned. Okay, so as I say here, what this does is massively polarizes the other common marketing mediums that an e-commerce brand uses. And it essentially, in so many words, says how Facebook marketing is the best and really sets you up for the next part of the script, okay? So moving on, you can say, and that's Facebook ads, as I mentioned. So yes, technically you could leverage Instagram influencers, or you could run Google ads, but you're not going to find another marketing medium where you can, pinpoint exactly where your ideal customer lies in terms of audiences, then test that audience with a small budget, and then you can comfortably scale knowing that you are massively limiting your downside, i.e. money lost, but fully maximizing your upside, i.e. scaling. There truly isn't another marketing medium out there in which you can scale your business from 50K per month to 150K per month more efficiently and more effectively than Facebook ads. Okay, again, at this point, this is where we are implementing their personal numbers, and that's where we are really making it a lot more personalized, and that's going to trigger different emotions as well. Okay, so that's what you want to go through for brands that aren't running ads. Now, again, as I say, for brands that are running ads, you don't need to say that stuff because they know it works. They know it's probably one of the better marketing mediums out there. So you don't need to say that because they'll be just sat there like, oh yeah, I already know. So you want to change your approach. Now, this is where this section comes in. So if it is a brand that is running ads, you want to go through this section. Okay, so here you want to go, by the way, guys, just to make sure you know what I mean, you literally want to go from this point where we go, and in all transparency, James, at this point, I know that you're a great fit for what I do. So let's dive into why I'm so confident we can get you to 150K per month within the next 12-month span. From here, within the next 12-month span, you go, so obviously right now, when it comes to your marketing, you are, okay, so that's what you need to do. Skip that skip this entire part here. For brands that are running ads, you come straight to this bit, right? So you want to go, so obviously right now, when it comes to your marketing, you are, okay, and this is the section where you want to name their current marketing system and touch on why it's not working out right now. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to name their current marketing system and touch on why it isn't working out for them right now. This is where it comes a lot more personalized, and you make it seem as though it's the perfect solution to their problem. Okay, so for the example of this script, let's say you have a client who is currently working with an agency, but they are not generating any good results, and the client wants you and your agency to come in and take over. This is the reason they want to bring you on board. Okay, so for the example, this is not part of the script. This is an example that I have just created for the purpose of this script. This is where you want to change it up, and this is where you want to name the current marketing system and touch on why it's not working out right now for the specific client you're talking with, okay? But again, for the example of this script, let's go with this example that I just mentioned here, okay? So obviously right now, when it comes to your marketing, you are with that current agency who, by the way, James, I genuinely have no idea what they're doing. I say this because looking at your product, your website, your socials, and your foundation, I know that everything is on point. And again, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be on the call with you right now. So the fact that the current agency just isn't generating any solid results truly does blow my mind. And I know that you mentioned that they are almost spraying from the hip in terms of their, Facebook ad strategy in quotation marks, which just isn't warranting any good ROAS. And this in my mind is where they are falling off, because the way myself and the team approach things consistently revolves around minimizing the downside but fully maximizing the upside. So within the first month, we are constantly testing with small budgets, audiences, creatives, copy, landing pages, offers, etc., and really just pinpoint exactly what it is that resonates with you, resonates most with your ideal customer. From here, we cut what isn't working and we make new variations based on what we have seen to work, and then we also start to scale on what is working with confidence, because we already know that specific variation, that a specific variation is working and is converting at a $50 budget, for example. So this is when we will take that up to a $150 budget and start to confidently scale. Again, this ensures that we are minimizing the downside but fully maximizing the upside, which consistently results in producing unmatched ROAS. In addition, what we also implement straight off the bat is our killer retargeting funnel that runs silently in the background and month on month brings in a ridiculous ROAS. And really this just essentially picks all of the low-hanging fruit on your website and again produces crazy returns, especially the way we go about it. Okay, so that's what you want to say to a brand, for example, who's currently working with an agency, just aren't getting any good results, and the reason they want to bring you on board is so that you can come in and take over, okay? One of my recent clients actually was in this exact same situation, and this is exactly how I went about it. This is how I came up with this for the script, is because this is literally what I used, okay? So again, you want to change it up and make it suited to the client you're currently reaching out to, or the client that's on the call, okay? Now, first things first, actually, before we move on, I just want to mention, you can see the different way we position the service. Okay, not really position the service, but you can see the different way that we talk about Facebook ads. Here, for a brand that is running ads, we don't really talk about the benefits of Facebook ads because they know it works. We talk about the benefits of the way my agency or your agency, we talk about the way that your agency is different from other agencies, in this case, with their driving reason being that their current agency is terrible, right? We don't really talk about how amazing Facebook ads is. We don't really talk about any other marketing mediums and polarize them. Whereas with a brand that isn't running ads, that's exactly what we do. We position Facebook ads as the better marketing medium, but we don't really talk about that here because they already know that, okay? So that's the first thing. Now, whether it's for clients who aren't running ads or for those who are, what this section serves as is positioning your service as far superior to whatever they're currently doing. Their current sales system. Okay, so whatever they're currently doing is their current sales system, and what this, whether they're running ads or whether they're not, what this does is serves as positioning your service as far too superior to whatever they're currently doing. This serves as making it a no-brainer for the client to bring you on board because what you have, i.e. your service, is unmatched and nothing else that they will do will be as valuable. So again, it makes it a no-brainer for the client. Okay, so this is just adding, this is just stacking. This is just the first part to really selling your service, and already we're making it a no-brainer to the client. Now from here, wherever you finish off, whether it's for clients that aren't running ads, here, or whether it's for clients that are running ads, that's the only bit that changes. Now from here, either one, you come to this part and this goes on for the rest of the script. Like there's no difference now, okay? So moving on, you want to go. And the reason I am so confident, James, is because this is something I've consistently replicated time and time again for clients in all different e-com niches. In all honesty, James, when I look historically at my past and current clients, we've never seen anything lower conservatively than a 4 ROAS across all clients. But if I'm being honest, it's more around the 5 to 7 ROAS mark. But look, I actually don't even want to look at the height and the potential of my service for a minute. Let's just forget that. Let's look at worst case scenario. Let's say that we move forward and something drastic happens, something that has never happened before, and we only get a 2 ROAS. Well, even in that event, which again has never happened, you would have still doubled your money. And for most agencies out there, a 2 ROAS is their best case scenario. Whereas at your agency, in this case, let's do Bax Consulting. Whereas at Bax Consulting, it's our worst case scenario. But again, usually at Bax Consulting, it's very common for our clients to experience a 5 to 7 ROAS, and that's really just the reality of it. Okay, so here we're talking about the worst case scenario. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Well, they may experience a 2 ROAS, which is going to double their money. Okay, again, this just serves as stacking onto the white, just making it a no-brainer for them to sign up with you. Okay, so from here, moving on. And really the beauty of this is, and this is where you want to position your service as the solution to their driving reason / main underlying problem. For example, let's say this specific client's driving reason is the lack of time to figure out how to get the best ROAS and run that ads themselves / in-house, okay? And really the beauty of this is, James, myself and my team literally come in and take over the entire marketing aspect of the business. And as I mentioned before, we essentially create an automated money machine that not only provides unmatched ROAS month on month, but also runs 24/7, 365, which provides you and the team at, company name, let's just say Nike, for example, which provides you and the team at Nike unbelievable predictability in terms of revenue each month, whilst also freeing up a tremendous amount of time on your end, so you can really just focus on providing your customers with the best products, packaging, shipping times, and just overall the best customer experience, which again will finally be able to truly set you apart from your competitors, whilst you're day in, day out taking the market share from them. Now, this is the most important part of the script. In this section, we have positioned our service as the solution to their current biggest underlying problem, which again acts as making it a no-brainer for them to sign up with your agency, because the biggest problem right now in their business will be fixed by signing up with you and your agency. I mean, guys, this is honestly you're just not going to find a better script out there to sell your e-com services than this one, because literally, guys, when I say you'll be able to close upwards of 95%, I'd even go as far as saying 100% of your qualified e-com meetings with this script. I'm being dead serious, because the way we go about it is by literally positioning and I know I keep saying it, but it's true, guys, you're positioning your service as the solution to their underlying problem. Okay, so if they sign up with you, their biggest problem is going to get solved because you positioned your service in a way that it's going to solve that problem. And so it's a no-brainer, okay? Honestly, guys, I'm just so excited for you to start using this, because I know your sales is going to get revolutionized by this script, okay? And really just this entire sales week. Okay, so after you've gone through that, you just want to go, so James, do you have any questions about that as a whole? And this is the part they're going to start asking you a bunch of questions, asking you a bunch of, things they want to understand. Maybe some parts of the script you've talked about and they just didn't quite understand. Whatever the case is, they're going to start asking you. So you want to obviously answer all those. So as I say there, from here, you want to answer any and all questions. Again, always remembering to consistently tie every point you make back to the driving reason / underlying problem within their business. Okay, again, this just serves as making it a complete no-brainer to the specific client you're on the call with. Now, phase 5, let's move into the close. Okay, so this is how I personally always go about closing my clients. So, and first things first, you want to move on to this after they've really got no more questions. They've asked everything, you've answered everything, you've tied everything back to their underlying problem. At this point, this is where you want to now, as I say, transition into the close, okay, phase 5. So look, James, given the results that we consistently generate for our clients month in, month out, it would genuinely make sense for me to charge you $10,000 per month service fee. Because I mean, even at that, yes, you're paying $10,000 per month, but we will be bringing you in $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 per month in return. So as a result, I know that we would still be an unbelievably valuable asset to your business at $10,000 per month. That said, I understand from face value that that is steep, and even though I'm confident and I know that a $10,000 per month service fee is something I can genuinely charge, what I'm actually going to do is charge a very small, minute $3,000 per month service fee. And once you finish that, what you want to now go on to is just not say anything, okay? As I said there, just shh, don't say anything, okay? Because if you start saying stuff and you start to try and back it up, you start trying to say, and for that you get this, this, and this, and I'm going to do this, this, and this, instantly derails the perceived value of your service, and it just doesn't seem as valuable anymore. So you just want to state your price, say plus ad spend, and don't say anything. Let them speak next, okay? Now, we are into the closing stage of the sales process. When it comes to the close, it's not the number you say, it's what you say directly in front of it, which is most important. So by consistently repeating the number $10,000, as I did up here, you can see we kept saying 10,000. By consistently repeating the number $10,000, when you say $3,000 directly after it, the $3,000 almost seems completely insignificant in comparison to the $10,000, right? So once you state your price, you need to go silent. If you state your price and you try to back it up with why you're charging that, then it will instantly bring down the perceived value of your service, as I just kind of touched on, okay? So, I mean, obviously I've gone somewhat on the low end here with a $3,000, but even if we knock that up to $5,000, still by consistently saying $10,000 in front of your service fee, it still sounds insanely cheap, right? Even at $5,000 per month. So it's a very, very powerful closing technique. It's just, guys, honestly use this because it's going to massively help you sell your service, and it's going to massively help your service fee. As I say, even if you do knock it up to a $5,000 per month service fee, which is a great client, even if it's at that height, you know, that price, still by saying $10,000 in front of it, $5,000 sounds very, very small, okay? And obviously that's going to help you close because they're going to feel as though $5,000 is a bargain for your service. Now, phase 6, this is just logistics. So whatever they say or whatever, you know, whether they, obviously if they say, oh, no, whatever, then obviously just, that's it, end the call. You no need to go into the logistics. If they want to go ahead, then you want to move into logistics. If they have objections, that's what we're going to be covering in the next module, is objection handling. So watch that module, implement the objection handling, and then you can move on to phase 6 once they're ready to move forward. Now, as I say, phase 6, this is just logistics. Okay, so from here, you just want to say, now in terms of ad spend, I have a minimum of $2,500 per month, but I actually give you as the client the freedom of exactly how much you want to use each month, because I understand that some months you want to scale, then other months you may want to, you know, want us to take the foot off the gas and slightly take the foot off the gas slightly due to product development, etc. Okay, now just to touch on this part here. So where I say now in terms of ad spend, I have a minimum of $2,500 per month. Guys, don't worry, these numbers here, and as this was a 3,000 before, these numbers here are just completely made up. The comparison of 3,000 to 2,500, that isn't made up. So if you were charging $3,000 per month, I'd say really nothing less than a 2,500 per month ad spend. But these aren't my minimums, because again, ad spend differs on how much you charge your client, okay? And as I go on to say here, always want to have a minimum ad spend in mind. This minimum will not be constant, as it varies depending on the retainer. It varies depending on the retainer. If you charge a 10K per month retainer, then obviously your ad spend needs to be a lot higher than it would be for a 2K per month retainer. Aim to make your minimum ad spend roughly 75% of the retainer you charge. But remember that your minimum, but remember that that's your minimum. You always want to try and get the most ad spend out of the client, as this will help you tremendously when it comes to the service delivery side. Okay, so that's your minimum, right? 75% of the retainer you charge is the minimum. You always want to try and get the most ad spend out of the client, because that's going to help you so much when it comes to running ads. The more money you have when it comes to running the ads, the easier it will be for you to get results, okay? But as I say, your minimum is 75%, roughly 75% of the retainer you charge. Now, moving on, explain this as we went through before. Now you just want to say, perfect. So for invoicing purposes, what is your email address, email and address? So from here, this is where you just want to pull up simple invoices on the call and input their details into the client section as shown in the foundations module. From here, create a subscription and fill it out respective to the client and get it sent over while still on the call. So you want to get the main two pieces of information, again, as we discussed in the software module. The main two pieces of information you want to get from the client end is their email and their address. And then from here, just go into simple invoices. And as I say, create and send over the first invoices like I explained in the software module. Get that sent over on the call, as you always want to aim to get them to pay on the call, because you need to remember that you never ever have a client until they've paid the invoice. No matter what the client says, guys, and this is so important, the client could tell you, I am 1000% signing up tomorrow. And you know, if you go ahead, yep, no worries, and you hop off the call with the mindset that you didn't close them, because you know, upwards of 70% of the time they won't actually close. So you always want to aim to get them to pay the invoice on the call, because that way, and that way that you know, that secures the client. But really, as well, as I say, that's the only way that you secure the client. No matter what they say, if they don't pay the invoice, you didn't get the client. Okay, so you can go on to just finishing it off by saying, great, so I've just sent the invoice to your email. So if you're able to pull that up, it should be in your inbox. If you're able to get that finalized now, then I can send you the onboarding process and we can get started. Okay, guys, that's the script as a whole. Now you can find this script into, you know, it will be in the resources section. So guys, that was the script. Insanely powerful script. I still use this to this day. Still consistently using it because it's just so powerful. We really do hit everything. As I've consistently said throughout this module, by using everything we've talked about, okay, in the sales week up until this point, as well as leveraging this script, there is no doubt in my mind that you'll easily be able to sign every client, if not upwards of 95% of clients that you hop on a call with, given that they're qualified, okay? So very powerful, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Any questions, as always, make sure you put them into the Quantum Leap Ecomm agency group and I'll get those answered. But apart from that, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Again, you can find this script in the resources section. And with that being said, I will see you in the next module.